Hello and welcome back to the Football Chat podcast. It's episode 104 today, where we will be discussing PSG's dramatic failure to win the Champions League. It's been pretty poor from PSG considering the investment over the last decade, that they've never laid their hands on a Champions League trophy. Of course, they came very close. 2020, they were in the final where they lost to Bayern Munich, but they've never won it, and we're going to be discussing today the reasons for that, sort of discussing PSG, their ethos as a club and their lack of ethics, I guess you could say. Probably not. We're not going to go into the Qatar regime, but we will be discussing the modern history of PSG and, their Champions League run. So obviously, 2020 is the most famous year. Do you think they should have won that year?
I mean, probably. I look at Bayern. Bayern were good, don't get me wrong, but...
I mean, the team that won the Sextuple, they're probably alright.
They were pretty good. It was a tough opponent, but that's the thing. I think no matter who you face in a final, if you get to the final, you should win it.
Yeah. I was going to quickly get up the PSG Champions League record, because obviously we know, this year, out in the quarterfinals, that's what we're talking out in the round of 16. That's what we're talking about, to Bayern once more.
I believe they went out in the round of 16 last year as well.
Yeah, but they played Real Madrid, so are they just getting screwed by who they're playing?
I don't know. 2020, obviously, fair enough. Bayern played well. 2021, Real went on to win it. So I guess But realistically, though, yes, Real went on to win it. But if you want to win the Champions League, you have to beat teams like Real.
Yeah. So last 16. The year before that was the semi-finals against Manchester City. They lost that game. The year before that was the final against Bayern. Then it was last 16 to Manchester United, Real Madrid, and Barcelona. Quarterfinals against Man City. Quarters, and then before then that was when the Qataris came in. They only reached the Champions League four times before that.
Last two seasons has been round of 16.
Yeah. So it's the most...
Actually, it's not good enough, really.
Over the last 7 years, they've reached the last 16 5 times, and then semis and final.
Yeah.
In the last 7 years, and in the 4 years before that, it was quarterfinals. So only once have they got past ever got into the final. Only twice have they got past the quarters. I don't think the amount of money that they've spent getting to there really is, justified. I don't think the performance justifies the money.
The amount of money they've put in. The things like they have players that are probably good enough to win the Champions League, but they either don't work together. It isn't a team. We'll get
into some of the reasons a little later. But obviously, 2011, Qatari Sports Investments purchased 70% of PSG for 50 million. I think they'd count that as a pretty good investment. 50 mil. The club is now worth a reported 3.2 billion. That is a Forbes estimate, which I think that's a fairly reasonable. I mean, I'd expect it to be a little higher, considering Chelsea they were sold at 2.5 bill, and they were obviously they're under embargoes and stuff, and it was all a mess. And Abramovich tried to sell it off for as little as possible, while still turning a decent profit.
Yeah.
So, I'd imagine it'd be quite higher than 3.2 billion, but 3.2 billion. I guess if PSG get to the point where they're selling, it's probably going to be because they've done something financially wrong. But when he came in, Nasser Al-Khelaifi, who is still the president of PSG to this day, his statement was, a clear strategic plan was established to develop the club into a major player on the European and international football stage while being a force for good off the pitch. That loosely translates to, we want to dominate world football and make the image of Qatar infinitely better. Have they done either of those?
No, because one you can't do.
What?
I think it's very hard to make the Qatar.
I don't know, because I think the World Cup, which is what this was all geared towards. Obviously, Qatar were getting into football, so then they bid for the World Cup. After that, they showed a clear intent to get into football. Yeah. Do you not think the World Cup painted Qatar in a good light to a lot of fans?
I think some things were good. Well,
obviously, there's horrific aspects to it, and I think defending the Qatar regime over a World Cup they hosted is not a great idea.
No,
but I think a lot of people's perspectives were changed.
The crowd. There wasn't any crowd trouble.
Yeah.
But again, does that come down to the country that's hosting it, or does it come down to the way it's been organised? And of course,
I think it comes down to the country, obviously, because they banned alcohol, and suddenly you don't have people smashing up their own city.
And they did, but they're going to make themselves look good, aren't they? With the lights on them.
Well, yeah, but that's my point, though. They are trying to make themselves look good. They achieved that goal. I think there's a lot of football fans out there who see Qatar as a nicer place than they did
PSG,
before.
and we know of Man City. The main goal isn't to do well in football. It's a business, it's a money-making opportunity. It's a business.
But PSG would be worth a hell of a lot more if they had a couple of Champions Leagues in their cabinet.
Exactly, they would. But they haven't focused on that. They're focused on the whole prospect of making money.
I don't know. I think PSG have focused on winning the Champions League. I don't think you splash £300 million on 2 players if you don't.
How much money that's going to make you?
What?
Neymar shirt sales, ticket prices.
I don't think they've made enough shirt sales to justify £200 million.
Oh, I'm not saying they've made justify £200 million, but they bought how you can't spend that money and then not win the Champions League. If you really were focused on winning something, you'd have won that. With the amount of money they have available to them, they would have spent it all. And
they've got the entire backing of a country.
Oh yeah, they could buy anyone. They could genuinely buy anyone on the planet.
It's like if the Queen went, you know what, I just fancy buying Barcelona, and then does it and builds them into a power.
It just doesn't make sense why when you've got that money and you still have players like Danilo Pereira and Ander Herrera.
Yeah, though I don't think Danilo Pereira and Ander Herrera are the 2 biggest issues at the club, but they're
crap footballers.
I think that's harsh.
Ander Herrera is.
I don't think Ander Herrera is a crap footballer. I think he was fine at Manchester United, but left for the money. I think he'd still be a good player there today. I don't think Ander Herrera is a bad player. He's just not a Lionel Messi or Kylian Mbappe. So in that squad, he looks worse. But yeah, so the problems at PSG, we sort of discussed their history. They've had 12 years now under El Khalife's tenure as in charge.
It's a very short history.
Well, yeah.
And all they've done is win Ligue 1.
But
dominate French football.
Yeah, but is that not a success in itself? It's the fact that they've took a team that had never won the French league, or at least hadn't for a long time. I don't know if PSG did win it before, but at least hadn't won it for a while. They took a team that was that raw in the capital, where no one had exploited that in France yet. They took a team and they managed to knock off giants like Marseille, Monaco, Lyon, and they took them to the top of the Ligue 1, where they've won 10 of the last 12 titles.
Yes, but also when you've got the amount of money, if you gave Marseille that amount of money, they'd win the league every year. If you gave any team that kind of amount of money, they'd win the league, no doubt about it.
Of course, but you can still, well, not necessarily. If you give someone 500 million, it doesn't mean they're going to spend it wisely.
I think not.
I'll give you 50 quid, you could become a millionaire, or you could just go and buy a football shirt. Like, there's different things you could do with money, isn't there?
Though, but that's £50 I would have, whereas they've got infinite.
I don't have infinite money, you can't print money.
Well,
and also, financial fair play means that is negated to a certain extent.
It's a good achievement, but the difference would be though, if they hadn't won 10 out of 12 leagues with the amount of money they have compared to everyone else, then it would be deemed as a massive failure.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, I think also considering that no other club has, other than Toulouse now, have undergone had owners come in from abroad, buy the club and trying to do something with it. But other than that, not many. They're still mainly French owned. I think Marseille might be owned by some.
I think the fact they actually lost the title twice in those 12 years actually shows where their flaws are when it comes to the Champions League.
I don't think they're entirely competent as a football club. So we've got highlighted a couple problems. I'm sure there's loads more, and if you've got any, make sure to get them involved in the comments below. First of which is the sale of talented youngsters. The most high profile is probably Kingsley Coman.
Yeah.
But there's a list longer than my arm of players that have come through the PSG academy and ended up just sold for nothing or allowed to leave on a free.
Coman is actually a really good
example.
Yeah, because you look at it and go, they sold him when he was young. He went around clubs. He landed at Bayern Munich. What does he do?
They sold him for £1 million to Juventus. Juve then made a times 10 profit on that. And Bayern, if they were to sell him now, would make a lot more money than they bought him for.
Exactly. But look at it. 2020. He could have been playing for PSG in the Champions League final. No, he's playing for Bayern. He scores. He wins it for Bayern. Beats PSG. Come to this year in the round of 16. Who's there? Scoring against PSG to knock him out. It's Kingsley Coman.
That's a player they had for free. They didn't have
Yeah,
to spend
they
a
let-
single pound on Kingsley Coman.
And obviously, they have got Neymar on the left wing now, who's also Champions League quality. But
Yeah.
if you put that 200 million into the defence and midfielders, and you keep Coman, much better team. Instead, they put 200 million into one man, and he's not even there half the time.
Yeah, obviously Paris, and the surrounding area, it's been proven has produced the most talented and top class footballers of any single area on the planet. Yet PSG haven't exploited that
It's the same
somehow.
as any country, the capital. Look at London. Look at Chelsea's and Arsenal's academies. Look at.
But this is the thing: Chelsea and Arsenal still have successful academies, despite the fact West Ham, Charlton, Tottenham all have decent academies as well.
Yeah.
Yet PSG, the only team in Paris, can't seem to exploit that talent.
If you're a really good 16-year-old and you've got an offer from PSG or even I'm not saying it has to be in Paris, but another French side. If you've got between PSG and Marseille, no doubt in your mind you're saying PSG.
Not only because you don't have to relocate halfway across the country.
Well, yeah. But if you're in London, you look at it and go, I could go Chelsea, Arsenal, West Ham, Charlton.
So you can understand, therefore, why we can understand therefore why maybe they don't pick up all the talents there, because other clubs will, and obviously there's promise of more game time. Paris Saint-Germain have no competition. Paris FC can't lay a glove on them. They're in the second tier and not fighting for promotion at the moment. So I don't know. I haven't seen. Maybe Paris FC are flying right at the top, but they're not. They've not come up in recent years. PSG should be getting a stranglehold on that talent and bringing in brilliant players. But either they just completely miss them and they go and join other clubs, or they join PSG and then PSG let them go when they're 16.
I think the most notable talent at the moment for me that is in their first team squad is El Shadili Bitshiabu.
You reckon?
Probably.
He's fantastic, but I think Warren Zaire-Emery's a better
player. But they'll probably end up being sold for 20 million.
Well, they've just let Xavi Simons go to PSV.
And look how he's tearing it up.
And he looks a sensational talent. Edouard Michou, they've loaned him out to Sunderland. That gives me hope they might hold on to him. Yeah. Because you'd imagine then they'll bring him back into the first team next season. But they could end up selling him to Sunderland, especially if they go. You've got come through the academy right now. You've got Etienne Michou, Edouard's younger brother. You've got Ethan Mbappe, who we know is an incredible talent. Yeah. He's been tearing it up in the youth leagues. They've got so much talent coming through right now. If PSG miss the mark here, that's going to be a dramatic failure on their part.
Yeah.
If they allow these players to leave, which they probably will. They probably will.
Ethan Mbappe will go wherever Kylian goes.
Not necessarily. No. I think he is his own man, Ethan.
Yeah, he is, but I think, if they both stay at PSG, though, and I think this brings us on to the next one, we know if Mbappe's going to start. We know he's going to be in the squad. No doubt about it, because I don't think PSG would have a choice. Yeah,
so the second point we've highlighted is the player power at PSG. This is a theme we've seen over the last few years, and if you look at Kylian Mbappe's contract right now, I know we don't know all the details of it, but it's believed he owns he has a lot of power. He owns some part of Qatar and stuff. It's insane promises, and it's the most ridiculous contract in football. He's on £1 million a week.
Yeah. And the fact they give him all of that just to make sure he stays at their football club so he can play football for him, and they're giving him ridiculous amounts of money.
But he is the most brandable footballer, Kylian Mbappe. He's the most recognisable face in football.
He makes the most money.
Yeah.
Simple as that. And it brings it.
He is PSG.
All the way back round to the business side.
I mean, he's already their top goal scorer now in all competitions. He recently pipped Edson Cavani to that. So, evidently already building a bit of a legacy there.
Players. They went. Why did they get Mbappe? Yes, he's a good footballer, but he's also a big face. Why did they get Neymar? Yes, he's a good footballer, also a big face. Why did they get Messi? Good footballer, big face. Even Ramos.
The fact you just described Messi as a good footballer.
Well, no, I'm just saying, because I don't want to sit here and go excellent.
Yeah.
Right, but yeah.
But yeah, fair enough. I think the player power right now at PSG is a massive issue. We've seen it time and time again where the players get their own way. They pretty much choose the manager. Yeah. If they want the manager gone, he'll be gone. So it seems like the most difficult job in football. You'd expect the job where you get £500 million and the best resources, the best facilities, the best players in the world. You'd expect that to be the easiest job, but I'd argue it's one of the most difficult.
If you fall out of one man, you're gone.
The politics involved in managing PSG, the egos you've got to try and control.
And that's the reason, I mean, we'll get onto it a little bit later, that is why they will never win the Champions League. Or they haven't won the Champions League.
Yeah, obviously there's still...
long time to go. I mean, the world.
Well, unless, obviously, Qatar get bored and just pull the plug.
I don't think they do that because I think they're making enough money off it. But equally, because they've got so much money, they could just stop.
Well, yeah, if they think, this isn't going to go up anymore, we'll sell at $5 billion.
Yeah.
And there's someone interested, then I could definitely see them. But
Yeah.
if you've got $5 billion to spend, you're not going to be, like, a fan.
I think it's worse.
It's going to be an
it's
investor.
It's so much money. I don't know who else could afford it.
Well, if someone like Elon Musk fancied turning over a quick bill...
Well, obviously, it's not going to be anyone else from the Qatari state because they're all, like, intertwined or related. You know, they're all, like...
They're not... No, that is not true. Not everyone in Qatar is related.
I mean, like, they all have, like, they're intertwined. They have relations to each other. Like, they all...
But you've got different royal families, I believe.
I don't know how it works. But they're all kind of linked somehow.
I'm not clued up on the royalty of Qatar, but I do believe there's very powerful families in Qatar, but they're not all intertwined. They all work together, I believe. So there's a chance someone else, another Qatar, but also someone else in the Middle East, somewhere like UAE. There's definitely investors there. We know that's and then Saudi Arabia, of course.
Yeah.
With Newcastle, there's no reason someone similar couldn't do the same. But Qatar, we know, have still got interest in football. Manchester United currently up for sale. Qatar believed to be the ones interested. The same for Liverpool as well.
Is it going to come to a point where the Middle East just takes over football?
Over football, but there is a chance that we get to a situation where there's not a Champions League club that isn't owned by a multi-billionaire.
But no,
other than obviously the German
they're
clubs.
spearheading, PSG, Newcastle, United, City. That's already 4 teams you're spearheading towards Champions League glory. So to the very top of the game.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be the Champions League semis in a few years.
It could be. If we got to that point, then maybe we'd have to have discussions about that. But the problem is, football's too far gone. You can't go back, and that's the issue now. Is what's stopping more owners coming from the Middle East and purchasing clubs and being able to take them right to the top? And I think we'll see it more and more, especially with the English football's landscape. We keep seeing clubs struggle financially. We saw it first with Bury. Sorry, they unfortunately, they unfortunately couldn't get those finances together and now no longer exist. Derby almost went extinct as well.
Honestly, the PSG owners aren't going to go, we've got all our money here, but there's a random League One club in England that I've never heard of before, but they've got no money. But it just shows that some teams they've got so much money to work with, and there's some teams that despite.
But
trying
I think we'll see more and more
that.
investors for championship clubs and stuff like that, because you realise we can buy them at 10 mil and if we invest enough money over the next 3 seasons, we can make hundreds and hundreds of millions. So.
There's a few rumours that were chucked out that Red Bull would go get Derby.
That was
a Red Bull franchise.
We're seeing more and more of this franchise, and I think we could see a similar thing with PSG if Qatari Sports Investments purchase Manchester United, which doesn't seem impossible. Then that could be. I mean, they have a conflict of interest there, so potentially one of them wouldn't be able to play in the Champions League, which would be controversial, very controversial. So I don't know. I don't think that. The same group would, but we've heard that I'm going to refer to him as Jassim. He's got a Qatari name that's really, really long. So there's a guy called Jassim bin something. I can't remember his full name, but he is apparently interested in purchasing Manchester United. He's the one that's been putting toward he's the one that's putting the bid. The only other one is Jim Ratcliffe, I believe. I don't know if he's bid or is just interested.
Jim Ratcliffe got so much money, but he doesn't have enough money to compete.
He does. Jim Ratcliffe can definitely compete.
Is he? But on can he provide as much or as more than the Qatari can?
He doesn't need to. Jim Ratcliffe is an incredible businessman. Obviously, we've seen that. Ineos are one of the biggest companies in the world. They turn over huge amounts of profit each year. So he'll be able to supply adequate investment. Not only that, but Manchester United have turn over so much money in revenue.
Yeah.
They have one of the biggest fan bases in the world, arguably the biggest, because they were on top when football exploded and became international. So they have one of the biggest global fan bases. Yeah. They make so much on merchandise sales, it's unbelievable. Manchester United could fund. They don't need an owner technically. That they need someone that's going to fund, that is going to look after the club properly. You look at the Glazers, and the reason they've failed is not because they've not invested. It's because they've took the money out of the club.
Yeah.
They pay themselves a ridiculous amount of dividends each year for doing nothing. So that's the issue. If you get like genuinely, a random fan could run Manchester United as long as they had the purest intentions.
Yeah.
They could do a better job than the Glazers. Probably.
We'll save the Glazers for when we can get Gary Neville on the podcast.
Yeah, next week.
Back to PSG.
Yeah. So next point, the problems, misguided club direction. Is there potential over-ambition there? Did they aim too high too soon?
No.
You don't think?
And I don't want to keep repeating myself, but with that amount of funding, you should be reaching for the stars and more.
Really?
Yeah.
I find that will only induce a side that's over-ambitious, is too egotistical, is too...
Well, no, that's the problem, though.
I don't think it would create a driven team. Whereas, look at how Newcastle approached it. They have got billion-dollar investment, but they've not gone, we're going to win the Champions League next year. They've started small, and they're just adding little things here and there, and they're building a legacy.
Misguided in terms of... I meant in terms of... Because, for example, Newcastle haven't gone out and splashed 200 million there, 100 million there, 150 million there.
Well, that would be a misguided club direction, a sign of over-ambition.
I kind of meant in terms of a competitive point of view.
Well, yeah, it's...
when once they've bought those players, I guess they kind of force themselves, because they have to aim high. When you spend £300 million on a front line...
Purchasing players comes into the club direction.
Yeah.
When they buy the club, you go, we're going to spend all this money to try and go for the Champions League now.
But it's a knock-on
effect.
That
too ambitious.
Because if they didn't spend all that money on the players, they wouldn't be as ambitious in terms of what they're competing for.
And now, PSG...
Because their striker is on £1 million a week, they have to aim high.
PSG have created this sort of pressure cooker environment.
Yeah.
It's so intense. You have to win the Champions League. Because if not, you're gone. That's as simple as. It means the manager's constantly working with an anvil hanging over his head. It means the players are constantly there, knowing their contract could get ripped up any moment.
And I don't know, be interested. But do you then start, if this carries on, say they don't win it next year or the year after, do the questions then fall to people like Kylian Mbappe? Does he go, and then is it like, is he going to, it'll be interesting to see what happens to him. Because if he chooses to stay at PSG with £1 million a week and, win nothing, or whether his actually footballing competitiveness and ambitions should guide him elsewhere to Real Madrid.
I think Kylian Mbappe will probably stay at PSG his entire career. I don't think that's a lack of ambition. I don't think it's a sign that he has a massive ego. I think he has a massive ego regardless, but I don't think he's staying at PSG because of that, because it fuels his ego. I think he'd want to stay at PSG because he can build a legacy there, because it's where he's going to earn the most money. But not only that, PSG can compete. They will win a Champions League one day, I believe. And the club direction they seem to be taking now, obviously we can't see into the future, but they're putting in some good building blocks now that mean they could win a Champions League at some point in the next 5 years.
Obviously that can, but I just think that if they don't win it in the next 2-3 years, I think his brain should tell him that he is a player that is good enough to be recognised as the greatest of all time.
But I think he can still do that. You've got the international stage where he's already a world champion. He's also been to a World Cup final. He's a European champion, I believe. No, they lost the final, didn't they, to Portugal, right? He's in that team, 2016.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he wasn't, was he? He came in at 2018, won the World Cup. So he's a world champion. Obviously, then they failed at Euro 21, but they came runners-up in World Cup 22. Yeah. So... he's already achieved a lot for at 23, I believe.
But then I guess that's where the questions then come in, because how do you rate players on how well? I mean, also we're getting into the how you rate the greatest player of all time debate again. Because if you're looking at someone who's built a legacy, I mean, and who's been to an international final, Harry Kane. Obviously,
he's not though.
But that's what I'm saying though.
But he's not won his domestic league 4 times with Tottenham, has he?
But if he was in that PSG side, he would.
Would he?
But yes. They'd piss the league. Doesn't matter who's up front. Take Mbappe out, stick Andy Murray up front and they'd still find a way to win the league.
What a random suggestion.
I don't know.
I want to see Andy Murray up front for PSG. That's my lifelong
And
goal.
it wouldn't cost £1 million a week.
Well, he's got a dodgy knee there. So he's probably
Yeah,
play,
he's injured.
him and Neymar would play.
He'd be injured.
About 5 minutes.
Then your backup striker would play. It wouldn't matter if you've got Andy Murray up front.
Yeah, fair enough.
I just think, I mean, from a better point of equal, I can understand why he wouldn't leave.
Would he take another 3 years and not win the Champions League to potentially win it 5 years in a row after that?
No.
Yes, he would.
Well, but okay, okay. I thought he had to win it in the year after that, not win it 5 years in a row.
Well, exactly. And I think that's not entirely
He's
impossible.
rotting.
Is he? Is Mbappe rotting in your opinion? Let's have a look at Mbappe's statistics for this campaign.
What I mean is,
Let's see if he's rotting.
If he is, no, that's okay.
Let's have a little look. Is he rotting?
But if he sits at the same club for 3 years and doesn't win the second most prestigious, I think for me,
205 games, 181 goals.
Oh, but it's the French league.
In the Champions League this season, then, since that's a fair representation, 8 games, 7 goals, 3 assists.
This is a debate, and I don't know how we've got onto the GOAT debate a minute, although who's good right now. But you stick Harry Kane in the French league, he outscores Mbappe.
No, he doesn't.
He does.
No, he doesn't. He does not outscore Mbappe.
No,
Kane couldn't outrun Raul Albiol, let alone some of the French defenders.
Flip it the other way around. Mbappe doesn't outscore Kane in the Premier League.
Yes, he does.
No, he doesn't.
Yes, he does.
No, he doesn't.
What on earth are you on about?
Haaland. Mbappe doesn't outscore Haaland in the league.
I would be inclined to agree, I think. That's a real debate. But that's a separate point. We could debate that.
Even bigger than that, Haaland massively outscores Mbappe in the French league.
I would less agree with that one.
Yes, do not get me wrong, Mbappe is a world-class footballer and he's done it on the international stage. But I just can't say that he is he's world-class. But I can't say he's the best until he's proven himself in a more competitive league and he's won the Champions League. Because, and I know people probably disagree with me, but for me, the Champions League is the second most prestigious trophy to win in football.
And he's won the World Cup. I'd say it's the third. I'd say the Euros ahead of the Champions League for me.
Is it though?
I would say Spain winning Euros, World Cup, Euros.
I guess
is better than
it probably is.
Is it better than Real winning?
No, but it probably is because the Euros is a one every 4 years, Champions League every year. I think that does add a bit of precision to it.
Yeah.
If you win it, you hold it for 4 years.
Well, exactly.
You don't hold it. You sat there holding it for 4 years. It might hurt, but Champions League, you can win it a year again. Like if Spain, you said Spain went on and won World Cup, Euros, World Cup.
Yeah.
Obviously,
I don't think that'll ever be done again.
Yeah, but obviously the Euros was every year because they're in such good form. Because the Euros was every year, they probably won it like Real did. But
it's not. It only happened once in our history that we've seen someone win the Champions League 3 times in a row. Is that not remarkable in itself?
Yeah.
Does that not show that the Champions League is just so impossibly competitive that we've never seen anyone win it more than 3 years in a row?
PSG should win it.
But they have always got tough ties. If we look through the list then, again, of the teams PSG have faced in the competitions, they've been knocked out by Bayern, Real, City, Bayern, United, Real, Barca, Man City, Barca, Chelsea, Barca. I agree they should have won a Champions League by now, but it's not like they're getting knocked out by small teams. They've never lost to someone they should have beaten.
No, but you never get knocked out to a small team.
Well, you do. Manchester City tomorrow night. This will go out. This will be last night when this goes out.
Leipzig is strong.
No, they're not.
Team.
They're the 4th best team in Germany.
Okay, but I look at it and go, every game, once you get into the quarter-final stage, I think, every game is a 50-50, no matter who's playing.
No, it is not.
Yes, it is.
No, it is not.
Okay, tell me, last year...
Villarreal Bayern. When Villarreal beat Bayern, no one went that Villarreal could actually win that game. No one.
But in terms of
maybe 10 delusional Villarreal fans went, yeah, we're going to win the Champions League. No, you did not. There's no way you were there going, Villarreal going to win this.
But it usually is. But you look at... I just look at this shit. It's just... I'm saying, yes, they've got knocked out to good teams, but they should be better than those teams.
Yeah, but it's not... They've failed to win the Champions League, and I think that is a failure on PSG's part, but they've never lost to a small side in the Champions League. Every time they've been knocked out, it's because they're playing another powerhouse.
No, because Mbappe just run through their centre arse.
Well, exactly. But
they only competed with Real 2 years ago because Mbappe scored.
But that's exactly what you expect from a £180 million player.
But then your £200 million player does nothing like that.
Well, that's the thing. They made a mistake with Neymar.
Because either he's at his sister's birthday or he's injured.
Yeah. Well, that's what we've worked out. We've established today that PSG
don't
shouldn't have
spend £200 million on a man that doesn't turn up.
But at the time, I would have called that a smart investment. Neymar looked like the real deal. When coming out of Barcelona, a team that won everything. He was a brilliant player.
And I don't think his ability has declined whatsoever. But his ego and his head have taken over.
He's clearly been fueled by that Paris lifestyle, the people around him.
The way he played in the La Liga, if he did that in Liga, he'd get 40 goals a season.
Yeah.
He'd tear it up. He'd get 80 goal
I think if you're constantly told you're our star man, that's how they priced him over. He wanted to leave Barcelona because Lionel Messi was... He was always going to be in Messi's shadow.
And
then they signed Mbappe.
Absolutely no respect for anyone like that.
A year later. What? Not wanting to be under the shadow of another player? I have immense respect. No. He could easily have sat at Barcelona and still be there today. Because, they would have won things, but he wanted the Ballon d'Or.
He tore it apart. But he wouldn't never win the Ballon d'Or because he's got to realise in his big head that he will never be as good as Lionel Messi. Never, ever. Not from
the year that Luka Modric won the Ballon d'Or. Could Neymar not have won it that year?
No.
Last year, Karim Benzema won the Ballon d'Or. People other than Messi can do it. I think he was right to leave Barcelona to hunt the Ballon d'Or. He went to the wrong club. Or maybe he wasn't the right man, but it didn't work out.
I think Luka Modric won the Ballon d'Or because in that season, he had Ronaldo.
What?
Ronaldo was there at Real Madrid when Modric won it. He was in Ronaldo's shadow, and
but
he still came out and won it.
He had his European success. Well,
Neymar. He didn't do that for Brazil. If
Brazil won they were not great.
Exactly.
22, were they? But I don't think that's Neymar's fault. Well, Croatia got to the quarters.
He led his team.
No, semis.
Modric led in his Ballon d'Or year. Modric led
got
his
to the final,
team.
Didn't he? Of the World
he
Cup
led
2018.
his team. Neymar didn't do that. He sat around crying. He got injured. He sat, didn't do anything.
What, in 2018?
No,
I don't remember Brazil in 2018.
I've never seen him because. And that's the problem with players like for PSG. And Mbappe's a bit different.
I haven't seen him post PSG.
Mbappe is so good that it doesn't matter if he's sulking about something, he'll still score. But players like Neymar, when they're that good, if your team goes 1-0 down, you should be able to look at him and he'll go, yeah, come on guys, let's start performing, I'm going to get us through this game.
But Mbappe doesn't do that either.
No, but he does. Yes, Mbappe doesn't give anyone motivation, but he gives himself motivation. That's what I'm saying. Mbappe still scores and carries his team through even when he doesn't mean to.
Fair enough. We've drifted far from the topic. Solutions for PSG win the Champions League. Here's how they can do it. How-to guide if PSG want to hit us up.
I don't know because you can't get rid of players like Neymar.
Okay, well, first of all, sell the big egos.
Yes. Neymar's got to go.
Sorry, never mind. I don't know what to say. You can't sell people like Neymar. I say one sentence and suddenly yep, he's got to go.
I meant you can't sell players like Neymar because who on earth is going to want him?
Chelsea.
No, don't. If he the day he's in a Chelsea shirt, I'll cry.
Tears of joy.
No, I won't bother.
I don't want Neymar. We've got too many wingers. But you stop supporting Chelsea because of Neymar.
I hate Neymar.
What? You are such
I'm not. I cannot stand him. And I just have no...
Neymar's contract.
No, I look at Messi and go, wow, mate, you're so good.
What a unique and original view.
But I look at Ronaldo and I go, I don't like you, but I respect the fact you are probably one of the greatest players to ever grace a football pitch.
Right, so why can't you do that with Neymar?
Because he is just... I don't know, he's just... I've no... He's just not as not good as Ronaldo. No, that's the problem. He's not as good. He's not one of the world's best.
Yes,
but
he
thinks he is.
Yes, he is.
Well, if he is, then why don't he act like it?
He is one of the world's best.
Why don't he act like it?
I don't know. I don't know what happened after when he joined PSG.
He went for the money.
It's impossible to know.
He went for the money because if he had any actual ambition,
Well,
he'd have gone to try and prove himself in a better league. Instead, he took a step down.
Where could he have gone? Who on?
Should have stayed at Barca.
Why?
Then when Messi cried and went off to PSG, Bang, Neymar's there. But I'll tell you about Messi.
Also, Messi wouldn't have gone anywhere because if Neymar didn't leave, Barcelona wouldn't be in the trouble they are today. They wouldn't have gone, you know what, let's spend over 275 million on
Marcos Alonso,
Dembele and Coutinho, who they have so far turned about 20 mil profit. What do you mean he's not there?
He got injured.
They're both terrible profiling, so you can't replace Neymar with a child and a bloke who plays in attacking midfield and then just shoehorn them in. You can't spend 120 mil on a player and expect. I don't know. But no big transfers have ever worked.
I mean, I'd rather have Ansu
I think the fee definitely gets to your head. You'd rather have Ansu Fati than Neymar?
Yeah.
What? One, that's a random statement. Two, no.
Really, no.
Fati's become a lot less effective since his injury. Anyway, going from the point again, sell the big egos at PSG this. If they can, obviously Neymar is the one that you've decided to pick up on most. I think if they're smart, they'll let Messi go at the end of this season. I know he's sensational, but you need to stop giving people ridiculous contracts.
I don't want to say you can replace Messi because you can't.
The problem is now PSG can't offer a single contract that's smart because they've given Mbappe $1 million. So anyone that goes to join,
you're paying my mate over there £1 million. So why are you trying to give me 50?
I don't think they're trying to give anyone 50 quid.
50 grand.
Yeah, depends who you go for, but I reckon a League One left back would probably take 50 grand very happily. I'm not saying anything,
well,
but
you might want to relocate.
What?
You want to stay in England with family?
Sorry, no. There is not a single player in League One that wouldn't join PSG on 50 grand a week right now. Not a single one. I don't count loanies because they're not League One players.
Yeah, they're actually good players. But yeah, there's a lot of work to do. Sell the big egos.
Recruit with purpose, which they've started to do. I think Renato Sanchez and Carlos Soler and Fabian are all brilliant pickups.
Any of them?
Yes, they do. They
when's Renato
do.
Sanchez played this season? Should we have a look at their minutes?
Renato Sanchez. I don't know. I can get up.
Let's have a look.
I don't know.
How often Renato Sanchez and Carlos Soler have played? I don't know. Right.
I'll go Soler, you go Sanchez.
Oh, yeah. Renato Sanchez, he's played 15 games this year.
Right.
Which is not good enough.
Carlos Soler so far in his PSG career has played 27 matches and scored 6 goals. So 19 games. 19. That's a pretty consistent run of fixtures.
But this is what I mean, it's smart recruit, but what's he done?
What, Renato?
Yeah.
What do you want him to do?
He's got 2 goals.
They signed domestically. It's exactly what Bayern do. They just buy the best talents from the league to further dominate the league. But yeah, like the recruitment purpose, they've started to do that a little more. I think Nuno Mendes was a good pickup. I think Hakimi was a good signing.
Ramos was a no, completely.
Why not? Sorry, what's Ramos done to you now?
I love Sergio Ramos, but why?
On a free. A bit of leadership, a bit of European experience is exactly what they wanted to push for a Champions League. Smart bit of business. Trust the youth was our other point, because obviously they've got such a talented academy. We discussed earlier how they've not done enough with them.
As long as they haven't got big egos.
What? No. Egos aren't the be-all and end-all of football.
They are for me.
Okay, so you'd rather take a team of... Would you rather have Sunderland's team or PSG's team?
If I want their quality and ability, I take PSG teams. But if I want the work rate, the desire, the determination, and the love for the badge, I'm going to take Sunderland's team.
Fair enough. Yeah, obviously. But yeah, with the youth, they've got to trust them. You're not going to have a massive ego coming out of the youth, really. Maybe Ethan Mbappe because of his brother and the power he'll likely have at the club if he does end up playing for them. But other than that, they seem to have a really hard-working, dedicated crop of young players. Yeah. They're good players. They're good talent. They perform well. Closing questions then. Will PSG ever win the Champions League?
It's bound to happen.
And if so, when?
5 years? 10 years?
2027? That represent that sort of the time you expect them to do it?
I think the league format might benefit them because they're so used to having domestic success. They're quite good.
Oh, they'll have a league. They'll
yeah, they do.
They've still got to play knockouts after that. They'll just, they've won the league. Here we go, PSG.
Yeah, but I think they could...
And Reams aren't in it, mate. No disrespect to Rangers, gotta love Will still.
Yeah, but I want to see how the draw for the who plays who gets done.
What?
Because if there's a certain team that will manage to get 10 nice easy games.
I don't think that's possible.
Well, we'll find out.
Because there's still going to be pots.
There is, but they've got a lot of money. So,
are you now accusing UEFA of accepting bribes? Go on record and accuse all UEFA of accepting. Yeah.
Just in case it comes out in 3 years and we've gone massive.
Yeah, exactly. I think UEFA might have a few words to say.
Oh, it's FIFA, isn't it? It's FIFA that...
Mate, their legal team's literally at the door now.
It's FIFA that have dodged it. UEFA, I take it back. FIFA, I have questions.
FIFA, yeah, they did. They did do that.
They did. I don't have questions, I have answers.
They did do that. FIFA, we're coming for you. We're not. Don't get in contact with our lawyers.
Who's FIFA at the moment? Gianni Infantino.
Yeah.
Something dodgy going on there, mate, isn't it?
Okay, well, PSG, I think they'll win the Champions League before 2030.
As much, I think I've always said that PSG and City will never win a Champions League in my lifetime, but either I'm going to have a really short lifetime, or that I'm going to be proven wrong.
Because City could be out this round, in which case you've got at least till next May.
Come on.
If you get hit by a bus 3 days before the Man City Champions League final, I know exactly why Man City are going to win it.
I want it written on my grave, though.
What?
That I was right. That my Man City will never win a game.
All right, Man City PSG never won a Champions League in his lifetime.
By a Man City fan. They might win the league.
But yeah,
basically PSG need to sort out all the problems, but they will eventually win a Champions League if they do that.
Wow, riveting stuff. That is all for today. Thank you very much for watching. Get your thoughts in the comments below. Keep the conversation going. If you've enjoyed this podcast a lot, I'm sure you're going to have thoughts about it. You didn't listen to 50 minutes of us rambling or something like that, isn't it? We've gone for a while, haven't we? It's almost 5 o'clock now, yeah. So it's a long one today. We've discussed PSG for a while. There's a big debate in the middle as to whether Mbappe or Haaland would score more in the Prem. So feel free to answer that question in the comments below.
Neymar.
In general. And yeah, so keep the conversation going down below. I know you guys in the community love chatting. We see it in stream all the time. See it sometimes in predictions. It would be great if you did it on the podcast, in the podcast comments as well. But yes, that is all from us today. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more of this fantastic content. And if you are on Spotify, then hear all the fun things that do fun things. That is all from us today. Thank you all very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.